How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and explore the fourth map in this season, this phase, called Harvest Corp. It's the last one I need to do. I've been meaning to get around to it, and yeah, for this one I'm going to set off from the Heartlands map because, well, basically there's no garage on Institute. There's no garage, obviously I've not explored it yet anyway, but there's no garage on the Harvest Corp either. So if I'm going to have to drive from either Crossroads or Heartlands to the Institute and then through there to the Harvest Corp, so there's no point. I'll set off from this map, which I'm kind of calling the second map. Yeah, pretty standard issue, driving up the usual kind of main route on this map. I'm going to go to the trailer store on my way past, just to grab a maintenance trailer, and then also a radar trailer for the Lo4f. And originally I was kind of thinking I'll just spin by the trailer store and fix myself up with the maintenance trailer, but then yeah, I was like, sod it, I may as well just take it with me. Especially since apparently there's no, well, I'm pretty certain there's no garage on the Harvest Corp, but apparently there's no trailer store either. Even like there's no missions or contracts you can get to unlock them. So yeah, probably not a bad idea to take a maintenance trailer just every time you have to travel there. Probably worth just taking something with you. Will come in handy at some point. I'm obviously going to inevitably going to be scattering loafs everywhere on it, but yeah, each time I go I'll probably take a maintenance trailer and just dump it somewhere on the map. And yeah, for this one I'm taking the Voron AE, which when I originally did the did the review of it, it's certainly one of the most solid vehicles in the game. It was always pretty decent. The main thing I really didn't like about it was the steering was really slow, and particularly at the time, it was around the time the Rift map came out, and they changed like the steering from, it used to be where you'd steer, and say if you're steering left and then you let go of the steering, the steering would reset to the middle and just carry on going straight very quickly. And then they sort of updated it to where it'd slowly sweep back to the middle. And it was on that day that I did the review video, and at the time I was driving the Taiga, the first like original beast mode Taiga. Well, it feels like it's been nerfed a bit now. Everything kind of does. But yeah, the steering was like one end of the spectrum on the Taiga, where it was really quick steering. And then when I went to this vehicle, again, was like the Rift map, the day that they updated it all. So on top of this being the other end of the spectrum and slow steering, I think it was also doing kind of the thing where it was really slow to just sweep the wheels back to the middle. And yeah, I was driving around, I was hitting everything. I remember someone even said in the comments they're not watching any more of my videos because I was crashing so much stuff. So yeah, it was a bit of a, I wasn't too keen on it, regardless of the thing. With the steering settings, for anyone that's a little bit newer, it might put you on sort of the other one. Basically, it used to just be one set of steering, but then they sort of updated it so you could use like controller settings or a steering wheel settings. And that's what kind of, when they updated it to add those options, it put us on the option where it was like made it really slow. So if you do find your steering is pretty slow in the game, you could always check the options, the steering options, and switch it to the other one. I can't remember which way round it was, but you'll yeah, like 10-15 seconds of testing, and it'll be pretty easy to figure out. But yeah, overall it sort of feels in general like they've fixed the steering. Just vehicles used to, like, if you'd steer left it'd apply right hand steering first, and it was ruining a lot of the vehicles. Some were more effective than others, but they feel like they've kind of sorted that out to a degree. So yeah, got to the trailer store, spawned a radar trailer, and then a maintenance trailer. A bit of editing there. I kind of sold the maintenance trailer back and then got it again just so it was fully fueled up. And yeah, I was eyeballing the trailer. I was like, there's a bit of room on top there. So sent in Bruce, and yeah, craned it up on top of the trailer. I was curious to see if you could pack it on top. And just, I left this bit of footage in because I just noticed as well there's a winch point on kind of the front diff of the Voron AE, which I'm 99% sure it never used to be like that. I would have remembered that. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know if I needed to, but I just used the winch to kind of straighten the dolly axle thing on the radar trailer up. And yeah, it let me pack it onto the trailer, which is pretty nice. Look at the Lo4f living in the year 3022. It's goddamn professional. Obviously, he's coming with me as well. Don't leave home without him. Yeah, the only bad thing about this trailer though is it's an absolute floppy boaty beast where it tries to tip all the time. One thing I do like about the trailer, it doesn't really weigh a lot, even though it's got quite a lot of fuel. The actual fuel trailers, for example, seem to weigh a ton, and they flop around because they're so heavy. This trailer's sort of the opposite problem. It weighs about as much as hopes and dreams, and yeah, the tiniest little turn, it just wants to tip all the time. So I kind of knew in my head that this trailer probably isn't going to last forever on top of there, but still, I was pretty pretty happy with the situation so far. It wouldn't have made the world of difference, because I could have just winched it behind the maintenance trailer. But yeah, with this Voron AE, like I said, I wanted to give it a try, because for whatever, there's no reason in particular. I don't like the steering, but I've not really used the vehicle for bloody ages. Just because as I'm flicking through the different vehicles to use, I kind of, I don't know, always just come across something else I'd pick first. I'm cutting through there for what, like, there's a patch of mud on the way to the Harvest Corp gateway. It was pretty brutal, to be honest. I cut it out just to, I mean, I was basically, there's trees thankfully kind of dotted throughout that muddy section, so I just kept firing a winch forward. Got my way out there, stuck a winch from the trailer to the lamp post as well. Stop that thing from tipping. And just as I was getting here to the gateway, I was like, is that mine? Do I own that? A step, well, I call it a step toe, but step 310. Yeah. I don't even remember driving it there, but I kind of do. I don't know, it's like a dream. I've not explored the Harvest map before, or obviously I have now, but I think I must have travelled through the gateway just to, so it'd kind of unlock it on the global map screen, like the 4 different maps. Otherwise, if you've never even been to the map, it was just kind of greyed out and locked behind a little padlock thing. So I must have done that, but I don't know. I don't even know why the hell I would have taken the step toe of all the vehicles. So yeah, the map, that's the 3 watchtowers. That's the order I'm going to do them in. Overall, I think it's kind of worth coming through this gateway anyway. That's what she said. What's it called? The Institute one. I'm kind of like in the bottom left of this map if you got it orientated where north is actually north. The Institute gateway is basically the top left, so it's, yeah, it's not like you're starting on the other side of the map or anything. Just drew some waypoints around the edge of the map just to give you sort of a rough idea of the size of the map. And to be honest, when I was travelling here, for some reason it doesn't let you zoom out as much. When you're on the map, the camera is kind of quite close. When you look at it, say from the Heartlands map, it lets you zoom out a lot more, and it kind of gave me the impression that it was a pretty small map. I was thinking it was going to be sort of the size of, say, factory grounds, that kind of thing, but travelling around here, it's yeah, it's a pretty big map. First impressions looking pretty good. Over to the right of me, there's like a swampy area, which, yeah, it's nice that the options there. I think they have gone a little bit extreme on the swampy sections in this map though, because that Institute map, that swampy section, I got stuck in there like completely with a Dan, and a few people have said they've been through there in like a TUZ or whatever, Tatrin 420, and that thing was getting stuck, so they probably could do with toning it down a little bit. And yeah, as we're setting along, there's what I assume is going to be a rescue at some point. It might be part of a contract, I don't know, but there's no sort of yellow box nearby for a mission to select. But some vehicle rolled in the water. I wonder what it's going to do with the trailer, because it's not connected to that vehicle, so I wonder if we've got to recover both. Just if you do, you'd have to sort of pre-plan and take a saddle high with you, so you can actually attach it. You could winch it with you, but once those legs are deployed on the trailers, they're a bit of a pain in the arse, to say the least. Just quickly select this mission. I believe this mission is this in front of me, where there's like a broken bridge. I believe that's the mission to fix it, but again, thankfully there's like a sort of pathway you can cut around to the left. And yeah, this was a nice thing. Unpack vehicles, switch to the loaf, back them up a little bit, attach the trailer, get a bit of scanning on the go, which I've edited those bits out just because they take a little while, as much as I do like the trailer animation, to be fair. And yeah, again, when I did the radar point, that's when I could kind of realise it's definitely a pretty decent sized map, because otherwise the radar trailer would have just done like the entire corner of the map. And like I said, this trailer is a bit of a floppy beast. So as I'm driving along now, I'm not really looking at my truck. I'm just eyeballing the trailer, making sure that's not tipping. Already got caught on a bloody route, but thankfully keep it pinned, fingers crossed. See, sometimes you get lucky with those routes. Sometimes you get caught on them and they're an absolute nightmare. Other times your wheels kind of phase through them and you get away with it a bit. I think current, was it on that one or this one? Sort of caught me a little bit. Yeah, there, I think it was thinking about it. But at least this is a bridge you can apparently repair at some point. Although again, strictly speaking, if I had like a load of cargo or a road train or probably one of those bloody 8 slots, when I loaded up to this map you can see the thumbnail for this map. There's a picture of like a newer Tayga, Tony the Tayga, with an 8 slot fan blade thing on it. Which, yeah, I'm not a massive fan of those. Well, actually, that wasn't pun intended, but I'm, yeah, not too keen on them. I used it on the live stream at the weekend, and god damn. Other than the fact that these maps are quite bumpy and all the rest of it, the just 8 slot isn't made to travel along this sort of stuff. It'll be alright along roads, and yeah, hence like if and when I do repair that bridge, if I ever have to bring a fan blade across there, I'd choose the bridge over the little cut through. But generally speaking, I do quite like sort of taking the little tracks that you can cut across these rivers. I like a bit of sort of wading through the water and trying to do that. Yeah, you can see this. There's a few sort of boggy sections that this vehicle seems to get stuck in quite a lot, but I'm not strictly sure if it's just this vehicle. Overall, again, I think the Voron AE is a solid vehicle, one of the better ones in the game, so if this thing's struggling, I assume most things will be. I was just wondering, do I follow the road round or do I just cut across the countryside? Came to the decision, I'm going to cut across the countryside. Yeah, you can see as well by this point the trailer, the what's it called, the radar trailer, the prototype trailer. It fell off. Which I'm still holding this maintenance trailer, personally responsible. Wasn't even a particularly like steep iffy hill, but you can tell by the way, like this sort of section I'm cutting across, it would have been tipping over at some point. There is just no weight low down on this trailer. But again, for the amount of fuel it holds, it's not really like it's a heavy trailer. To be fair, this Voron AE does feel pretty planted, because there's certainly a few sections I've been cutting across now where lesser vehicles, more tippy vehicles would have gone by now. One nice thing about this Voron AE is it's got 50-inch tyres, which is pretty decent size for the size of the truck. Normally those kind of tyres are sort of reserved for like the Dolphin, the bigger 8-wheeled stuff and all that, but yeah, it's pretty decent on this. So that's for example like that new vehicle, the Step Pike, is that 43-inch tyres. It's 7 inches less, which, yeah, can't afford to be losing 7 inches. Only have about 1.5 foot left. And then yeah, first watchtower. I've noticed as well, once you drive into like this blue square, I'm sure it used to make you sort of launch the observation point or whatever before it'd actually uncover the map, whereas I believe now it's doing it in like, as soon as you touch this blue square it just counts as you've explored the watchtower. It's probably a better example on the next watchtower I'll be coming up to in a minute. Yeah, so it uncovers a pretty decent part. Again, it doesn't quite, it gets to the edge there, so at least you kind of covered on that. It doesn't really get the corner properly, but I don't think there's a whole lot going on in the corner. And it turns out I could have followed that road round really, and it would have ended up bringing me to the this watchtower. But I'm kind of happy with the way I went, because one, I do quite like freestyling it across the countryside, but as well, now I'm not sort of doubling back on myself. Another thing I noticed, which I think is a good thing and an improvement, it's only a little thing, but it's like one of those little sort of quality of life things they call it. When I turned the engine of the Voron AE off, it didn't detach the winch from my maintenance trailer to the prototype trailer, which it always used to do that. It's just the second you turn the engine off, you just hear the kind of detaching winch noise. And yeah, I didn't hear it that time, so I checked it, and the winch was still attached, which is pretty cool. Just because then you're just going to start the engine again. Like, nothing's really going to happen unless you maybe if you switch vehicle, it might detach it then, but that's cool. But yeah, it just saves you having to go through all the winch points again just to pick the same one. Like, a lot of the times I'm only going to fire the engine back up, but I mean, strictly speaking, as I've got the maintenance trailer with me and the goddamn horse, I don't really need to keep turning the engine off. This Voron AE is not that bad on fuel. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's not nailing it or anything like that. Thought a log was about to go crazy. That's why I was doing my horn. See if I could bait it into going nuts. It's funny, some of the like dirt roads going along this map, even though the sort of ruts in the road don't feel as deep as they have been on like the Heartlands and Crossroads, but yeah, you can see they do slow you down quite a bit. And yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it, because to be honest, this is attempt number 2 at doing the audio. Thankfully I didn't go all the way through the video, but my bloody headset keeps doing like a crackly noise, and I do a little test at the beginning of the video just to check it's not doing it, and it wasn't. And then I recorded like the first 12 minutes of audio, and I just had a gut feeling, so I paused the audio, went back, and yeah, it was doing the crackly noise, so I just had to delete it and record it all again. So I kind of, this is why I don't like doing second attempts, because then I can't remember like if I said that or did I say that the first time. Yeah, this Voron though has got a new paint job. I don't know how new it is, but it's certainly new since the last time I used it. It looks alright, to be honest. Again, I think recently they've done a pretty good job with some of the paint jobs they've been adding. There was some they were adding like, you know, a little while back that they were alright, but I wasn't a particular fan of. Whereas, yeah, all the Wolfpack, well, 2 of the 3 Wolfpack trucks have got custom paint jobs that look really nice. The new step pike, that's got a nice paint job, and this thing as well. So it's pretty simple from the first watchtower to the second, kind of just follow the dirt road, so no cross country going on. And yeah, when I was getting there, you can see there's like a big runway there. I was already thinking now, like, I could definitely fly a loaf down there. Yeah, you see now, as soon as I touch the blue square, on the right hand side of the screen, I can't read it from here because it shrinks the screen when I'm recording, but it listed like different things that I've unlocked. And it didn't actually make me like launch the observation point or whatever it is first. Which not that, I mean, it doesn't really make much difference either way, but I just noticed it. And again, that's a pretty decent sized watchtower thing. It's sort of, some of the watchtowers do such a tiny little patch, it's barely worth it. You can see the first radar point, that was my radar trailer. And yeah, I was just moving that around the edges just to give you an idea of how much it's uncovered. And as you can see, it doesn't go to the edges and all the rest of it, but it gives you a good idea of like the main bulk of the map and what's going on. Now off to the third watchtower, which again for this one I think I'm doing a little bit of cross country and not sure what I got caught on then, unless it was the little tree off to the left. Apologies, a little tiny glitch there, keeps trying to nail me with them. Narrow bit of wood to cross over and a little bridge. See, now was when the steering, I was like, yep, it's definitely on the slow end. It doesn't react very quickly. But I'd definitely say it feels better than it used to. I think maybe with it, like say when you used to apply left hand steering, it'd apply a bit of right. it'd either apply a bit of right that you could see. I've got it in various review videos on whichever trucks it was kind of mainly doing it on. But even if it didn't visually do it, there'd be like a bit of a delay before it starts steering. And I think this was one of the ones that, yeah, was delayed to say the least. Whereas it feels like it starts when you turn, but it just doesn't turn very quickly. I mean, I imagine if I drove this thing around long enough and then jumped in, yeah, like the opposite end of the spectrum, something like the original Tayga, I'd probably start steering like mad. It's a bit like when you use the articulated vehicles on this phase, the new tractors like the K700 and the K7M. After jumping back into a vehicle, for the first minute or two, I find sort of applying more steering than I need, and I start snaking down the road because you have to sort of wait so long for the articulation to kick in on the tractors. At this point, like, do I follow the road round or do I just fly across the countryside? And I believe this time, yeah, apologies, there's a tiny little glitch there, but I moved the waypoint. I thought, sod it, I will follow the road. And like I say, overall, first impressions of the map, yeah, I quite like it. I think it's decent enough. I was thinking as I was driving around, which is my favourite map so far. I do like the Crossroads map, and I definitely like the Heartlands map as well. And then it's like the Institute map would probably be third on my list so far, but it's not to say I dislike it at all. It's just, for whatever reason, I think the Heartlands map just about scrapes by in the first position for me, and then yeah, the Crossroads probably second. First impression, I don't know, possibly this map, and then the Institute last. But again, I like them all. I think they've done a pretty good job on this phase. And yeah, sticking to the road didn't last too long. I started veering off and cutting across country. I think at that point though, there wasn't really a road, as you can see. There's not really a road leading up to here, so it was going to happen one way or another. See there, I just clicked on the like to see the map, just to change the time of day before I launched the observation point, but it had already uncovered the watchtower. Like it had already, you know, like uncovered the map. So for whatever reason, they have changed that around. And yeah, so there's the 3 watchtowers you can do. Now I'm kind of heading over to the top left-hand side of the map. I'm sort of heading towards the Institute Gateway, which is around there somewhere. It doesn't highlight, obviously, at the minute, but I can't remember if I left it in the editing or not. One little kind of trick to get around that. When you're on this map, go into your contracts and select a contract that's just on a different map, and then it kind of just brings the gateway up, sort of telling you where you need to travel. So that's a little workaround just to figure out where the actual gateway was. I don't even think I blipped the throttle there. That was actually whatever little patch of mud I hit. It's not letting me move. And that's what I mean, like this dirt road, there's not really any depth to it at all really. It looks kind of like the dirt roads you get on, say, the first maps like Michigan and all that. But for the most part, it's let me tick along. The high gear is pretty punchy still in this vehicle, which is quite nice. When you do hit patches of super mud, etc., it's just sort of, you enter like a different realm where it feels like it's pre-coded to slow down. But other than that, you still have to get into second gear to sort of fire it away in high range. But it's not too difficult to get into second gear, even though, again, there is gear caps going on in these maps. That's part of the reason I brought the high range gearbox still. I'm definitely willing to entertain the idea of using the off-road gearboxes if it's going to start doing rev caps so seriously and gear caps. And I will test out the off-road gearbox pretty soon, just because I kind of want to know for myself. But yeah, it's that high gear, just the high range gearbox, high range gear, or high gear, whatever. It's just such a nice pace. What was it? Oh no. There's one section I went over where it had like a little wooden bridge going across, and as I drove over it, it completely detonated the whole thing. Normally most of the ones I've driven over tonight, like they're sort of solid built into the map, you can't destroy them. Is it this one? Yeah, look. Not that I care, because to be honest, some of the ones where it's like 2 really thin planks of wood are kind of more hassle than they're worth, because it's quite easy for your tyres just to tip off the side. And then you kind of beat your diffs and axles and that on the wood, whereas, yeah, the fact that that one completely exploded kind of solved that problem. So as I'm heading along now, I was just trying to work out where to do the radar trailer. And tonight, I didn't do every little corner of the map. I kind of did some section, you can see, I do a few more radar trailers as I'm going along now, but yeah, I didn't want to just get every little corner, because it makes the video go on a bit long, and I think the 3 main watchtowers you do, and then once I got the Institute Gateway uncovered, there doesn't really look like there's a whole lot more going on. It's just one of them where, yeah, I'm just going to drive to the corner of the map, do the radar trailer, and that's about it. I don't think there's a lot to explore and find. I found the upgrade, by the way, which is pretty much in the dead centre of this map. I'll drive to it near the end. And yeah, just to do a radar trailer in the, like now I'm towing the radar trailer behind me, it's a little bit more faffing around, but just disconnect the maintenance trailer, reverse up to the radar trailer. I can still loaf a goddamn horse, and you still can reach the trailer. Another river crossing. I wonder if they'll do another map similar to... was it just called Flood? Or Flooded? Or it was originally called Deluge, I think. The map on MudRunner, anyway. Like the last map. It was pretty much... the vast majority of the map was flooded, and you kind of... you were 9/10 drowning, and you had to kind of... I don't know, wing it. Just sheer luck, trial and error. Finding the bit that's shallow enough to cross it. But yeah, it was kind of a bit of a cool mission. I wonder if they'll do anything like that. It's a bridge that's actually built. And yeah, at this point, pretty simple. Anti-terrorist barricade with that little honk. Didn't actually take any damage from them. Plenty more sunflower fields to be running over as well. I didn't at the minute, I don't know why, I actually did it properly there. I went round the corner, what was wrong with me? Slipping. Yeah, the Institute Gateway is in front of me. I only didn't go right up to it just because I'm going to do a radar trailer, and you know, if I go right up to the edge of the map, I'm sort of wasting half the radariness. Radar loaf. I moved it up a little bit though, just because actually when I looked on it, the Institute Gateway isn't actually right at the edge of the map, it's kind of set in a little bit from it, so I could afford to move it a little bit closer. But there's a road going off to my left which I'll be using very soon. For some reason the radar kind of glitched a bit where it's still sticking out the back of the trailer. Yeah, so that's the first gateway you can see at the bottom, and where I am now is the Institute Gateway, so they're both along the left hand side of the map. And for the most part, I mean, that's about it. I'm not going to go into that top corner. I'm basically going to cut now down along the left hand side of the map, back to the sort of harvest gateway, and then cut back across the first bit of the map I went across, just to go to the centre of the map to get the upgrade, which I already knew by now. It was the K7M is the top engine. And I've not really had an issue driving the K7M. It seems like it had enough power anyway, but I'm not going to say no. The more the better. Can always put a lesser engine back in a vehicle. But I don't think I've ever ever needed that to happen. If anything, I'm usually wishing for stronger engines. To be fair, I've not really used the K7M a lot. I'm not bored of like farming or anything yet, but I've not done a whole lot of farming. And I don't know, I'm not gagging to do more farming, but again, I'm not like sick and tired of it or anything, but it's one of them. As and when the missions and contracts come up, I'll get them done. I'm not trying to avoid them. Yeah, I think I did an edit back there. Again, it was another patch of like super... well, it's more like death mud really, because you pretty much get stuck. Thankfully there was kind of 2 bushes which This Voron did rip them both out, but instead of just attaching to the bush and then hoovering the winch in, just kind of dab the winch button and keep retracting it a tiny little bit, and then before it plucked the bush out the ground, it just kind of moved me a little bit, and I eventually got a bit more grip and was able to get out of there. Worst case, see, I can just deploy the loaf, send him ahead as like a mobile winch point. I was having quite a lot of fun flying through these trees at the minute, but I did notice there is a road running to my left, so I think I started kind of working my way back over to that. Preferable on over driving over them rocks. And strictly speaking, I think right now to the left I could have cut across the river and just kind of gone straight to the middle of the map, but yeah, just for the sakes of doing a lap of the whole map, I carried on going down this way, so I'm going to kind of end up next to the Heartlands gateway that I originally came through on. There's another tree sat there, you can see as I hit it, because they're kind of in place, so like you can't physically move them, they don't phase through the ground or anything like that. Once I hit that and it caught me, yeah, it was not that far off tipping me really. And to be fair, overall, considering like I'm doing a few extra radar trailers at the end of this video, doing the 3 watchtowers didn't actually take that long really. I mean, if you're really wanting to speed run it, and say I disconnected the maintenance trailer, didn't bother with the radar trailer or anything like that, you could technically get all 3 watchtowers done in probably 5 or 10 minutes. See, whereas that patch of mud and everything, it kept its grip and went through pretty nicely. Like I say, I think they code certain sections where it's kind of not down to the vehicle at that point, it's just whatever they've decided how bad it's going to be. Yeah, so fired another radar trailer off. I could have originally done it when I came through the gateway, to be honest. And it still doesn't quite reach down to the bottom of the map, but there's only a little slither, and considering there's like all a swamp running along there, and I've already found the upgrade, I don't think there's anything hidden down there. So yeah, now at this point, just for this a minute or so, I'm basically driving back along the same road that I originally headed down. There's that trailer that I kind of moved out of the way a little bit earlier. I'm trying to see what vehicle it is. Is that a Royal? That's another vehicle I've not used for a little while that I could crack out at some point. I didn't really use it a lot because it's is that the one that's got no diffs? But if I remember correctly, it was a pretty quick vehicle. Well, it used to be the quickest in the game. I don't know 100% if it still is. It probably is though, because I've flown just about everything off the cliffs in White Valley. And I think the Royal was the winner. I can't think of anything since that was notably like flew really far into the water. So again on that second bit, the current a little bit, it's not enough to tip me over. And I only used the single chained for this one. I was eyeballing, I was considering using the double chained. I used them at some point in the live stream and it went quite nicely, sat wider, so it sort of helped a little bit, but it's not the same group of tyres. Like the chained on this one is the mud version of the chained, whereas the other ones were whatever they are. I don't know if they're like off-road or all-terrain or whatever, but yeah, they just weren't mud, so I was like, sod that. And to be fair, as I said, this vehicle's not that tippy, so I don't think I rolled it the entire night, in fact, so yeah, no real regrets. But with this trailer, if you do bring maintenance trailer, once the maintenance trailer starts to tip, it can try and take your vehicle with it, and again, this is a pretty decently planted vehicle, so it was never really an issue. But yeah, just bear it in mind, if you do bring a vehicle that's a little bit hit and miss, like the Bandit for example, it just seems a bit too tippy for its own good, considering how horrific it is to get it back to its wheels. Once this trailer starts going, it could take you with it. But at least the trailer doesn't really weigh anything, so it's not going to punish you too badly. That's the main thing I didn't like about the actual proper fuel trailers in this game. They are so heavy, once they start to tip, they really do sort of take you with it. So it's about now, somewhere around now, where I started cutting off to the right, heading to the first watchtower, whereas I'm actually following the road this time. And this is basically the corner I had to do a little bit of reversing going on. This was like between the first and second watchtower. So that's what I mean though, those pieces of wood there, they're like, you're hitting them, they're not moving, they're not getting smashed up or anything. If anything, I was going slow there just because that's the sort of sections like that where it'll completely delete your tyres, you'll clip it at 5 miles an hour, and suddenly bang, your entire suspension and everything's gone. And even though I have got repair points, I don't mind using as much on the Lo4f, I was going to say on this maintenance trailer, but preferably if I can help it. I wanted to get this exploration done without using all the supplies on the trailer, otherwise it sort of makes it redundant leaving it here for later. And yeah, drive to the middle of the map. It looks like a quite swampy, boggy area, but to be fair, it wasn't that bad. And yeah, the top engine for the Kirovets K7M, which again, I'll get a review done on those pretty soon. They're kind of pretty high on the list of the next ones, or at least one of them anyway. Well, I'll do a review on both of them, but I just mean like which one to do next, and then I'll probably get another one of the wolf pack things done. So yeah, that's about the whole map really. Like I said, I'm not going to get all the edges just yet. I did the kind of to the right of me. I did uncover that, but there was nothing there, and yeah, it's just there's no point. Like another 5 minutes of video for nothing really. But yeah, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf because he's still a goddamn beast, and I'll be back soon.